All right, man. Hey, everyone. How you doing? Carmine Danisco here with the Launch Network. We got an awesome show. Get retail ready with Mr. Jim DeBed. We're a little under the gun here today. We usually joke around, do some stuff. You know what? We're going to probably joke around anyway. Let's bring him on. My co-host, Jim. What's happening, my friend?
Hey, good morning. I just something popped up on my screen and it said, like, I have to give consent to recording. That's like a new thing.
Yeah, they must have upgraded Zoom. I just saw that myself. So,
you've been giving me consent for 4 seasons now, so 4 years or whatever. So,
yeah.
All of a sudden now they ask.
Yeah, when I was younger, I never asked for consent.
I'm not even going to touch that one. Okay. All right. Well, look, we've got a great guest on today. And what I love about this guest is you and I both know him. And a lot of times you and I both sort of know, a guest that we have on, but we've both known this guy for years. And more importantly, we watched him go from the humble beginnings of what inventors go through, right? That whole like, hey, I've got an idea and I want to start getting it out there. And this guy has taken it and run with it and has really built a really nice business around it. And I've loved watching him just keep inching up and inching up. And as we know with inventors, it's the sum of all of those efforts. And when you look back 6 months, a year, 2, 3 years or whatever, it's amazing to see how much can be accomplished. So without further ado, we'd like to introduce Mr. David Frankel. David, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
David, what's happening, my friend?
How are you?
Doing good, Mike. Doing good. Jim's right, David. We've been following your, I want to say business, all the things that happen. And not too many times does an inventor have the rest of the ingredients to be a businessman and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. An inventor then finds somebody to help and stuff. But man, you've been really killing it out there. We've really been following your stuff. Awesome, man.
Well, thank you so much. I think the biggest key is collaboration. Because as you know, to bring one product to market is so expensive and so time consuming. And it just takes so much persistence. But I found that when you go to trade shows and you find other inventors in the same world as you are, and you guys can work together and the egos can stay in check, it makes a world of difference. You can become much more of a company instead of a product much faster.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, I'm so happy you say that, because even us, like Carmine and I, people like us on the sort of the service provider side, we think the same thing. Like, there's so many people that can compete with you who don't want to share. But we find that when everybody collaborates, like you say, look at the result you get. I mean, you've always been generous with your group, your Charlotte Entrepreneurs group. Just, you don't have to do that. You've got more kids than Carmen and I combined. I have 4 kids. I think you've got like 12 or something. So you've got a house full, and yet you still give your time and you volunteer and you do all these things that make up what a good business really should be.
Sure. Well, definitely having the kids has made it a drive of, you have to succeed. I mean, failure is not an option. I have people counting on you. And having kids anywhere from 8 years old is my youngest son to my oldest daughter is 25, who just gave my first granddaughter.
Oh,
different reasons to drive you. And I've been able to have my children be a part of the journey as well, which has been a lot of fun. Like my son Bryce is now 19. He was able to audition for Shark Tank with me, as you see the picture behind me.
Yeah.
It's a great learning experience for him. We didn't get on the show. We went to the casting call. We got to the second round. But I follow the Sharks. The Sharks follow me. I follow them in the casting. So you just keep grinding. So that's just the beginning. That's another, pebble for the pond that you just kind of drop different plants and seeds to grow, and hopefully things work out. If I can get on Shark Tank, that would be great. But to get the kids behind you, get the wife behind you. My wife contributes to the business by making masks for us and making pre-tie bow ties. So it really has become a family affair. Even my 12-year-old daughter is cutting fabric for our masks.
Wow, that's crazy.
How can you get the whole family involved? Because it's sink or swim for all of us. And
yeah,
last year was a great test of that as well.
I remember seeing Bryce and even all your kids just watching. They were like babies almost when you were getting this started, and like to see them like now, like I said, he's 19, they're older, and you can, and one of the things that, and this is one of these takeaways that I want inventors to know, is your persistence. You're exhausting in a great way to watch, because you constantly are going. Like, I'm like, man, this guy does not stop. It's weekends, it's nights, it's every time you've got your kiosks in the mall. And then, by the way, that mall by you, when we came by that one time, when we were there, and you weren't, that one day, of course, that you weren't in the actual kiosk. That mall is awesome. That is like one of the nicest malls I've ever been in. It's just so bright and nice. And the floors are like super shiny. It's like, but you were constantly moving and going. And that's what it takes in this business. A lot of inventors give up very quickly. And we've seen this where they have great ideas and they really do have something there, but they get frustrated. And I get it. It's emotional. You get caught up in it. And if you feel like you're not making it yet or making money, that you need to stop. But somehow, some way, you've kept it going. And so what we'd love for you to share with inventors quickly is just why Perky Collar? What was the purpose, and where has it gone from, and where are you now with the business?
Sure. Well, I think it's all started with the desire to solve a problem. I was wearing a lot of dress shirts and blazers, and dry cleaning my dress shirts and heavy starch my shirts, and I'm a dress shirt blazer guy. And I just got so frustrated when the collar would lay flat and tuck under and look sloppy and look inconsistent. And I said, there's got to be a better way. Obviously, if I wear a tie or bow tie, I don't need it. But I kind of saw the trend going towards open collar dress shirts, and I just had to tinker with it. So I played around with the headband, I played around with some packaging, and I'd say they kind of all had a baby. And that baby resulted in the Perky Collar. And I was fortunate to live in Charlotte, where I was able to connect with Inventus here in Charlotte that kind of helped me through some of the process of the research and the packaging development and the design and the art and so on and so forth. So it's kind of everything kind of fell into place, and it costs a lot more than I thought it was going to. And that's something vendors should understand, is that it's not a cheap process, but if your passion behind you is strong enough, you can find a way to make it work. The other thing, I felt like I had a mission. Both my parents passed away at a young age, so I did inherit some funding. So I almost felt like it was my mission to leave a legacy behind with their passing. So since they did pass and they left me money, it shouldn't just be squandered away. I got to create a brand, a business that can leave, a legacy behind that shows their money was well spent. And it's a difficult call because like you said, a lot of inventors never make the market. I think the stat I saw most recently is 5% of all patent pending products ever actually hit the market. So I feel like I am in a slight elite class, but I think a lot of it has to do with that drive you're talking about. Yes, I have a product. Yes, they dropped 5,000 on my doorstep. So now what? To me, that's when the real business begins, is what are you going to do about it? Are you going to put it online and hope and pray people visit your website? Are you going to go out and do shows? What are you going to do? What's the next step? And that's where I just said, hey, you know what? I got 100 grand tied up in this product. Now it's time to go bust some tail and get this product in people's faces and start doing social media. And, I'm not great at social media. I think everyone over 40 has to really struggle to understand social media and see the top of things. But you better get out there, because that's where the millennials are. That's where the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s are. And the way to connect with people globally is through social media, planting those seeds each and every day. And it's been a journey. It's not easy. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but it also gives me the most rewarding job I've ever done, because now I have 3 days off a week that I can do, things I want to do. I can travel and see family. I can, do other things I enjoy, spending time with the kids, that I wouldn't have if I had a 9-to-5 job. And I'm not working for someone that could at some point say, hey, you know what, David, I'm sorry. We're gonna have to do some cuts. Business isn't strong right now. And, we're gonna have to let you go. I don't have to worry about that. The only thing I have to worry about is the mall closing. So that happened to me last year, but it's rare for something like that to happen. So now it's up to us to expand that to other cities, other markets. That way we can continue to multiply our network and multiply the reach of the product.
David, do you know how many Perky collars you have sold to date? If it's something you can share approximately.
Sure. No, I don't know the exact number, because I typically calculate it per quarter.
Right.
So as of the end of Q1, my exact number was 19,045. So I assume I'm probably around 19.5, 19.6.
Let's go 20,000. It's a nice rounded, nice even number.
It'll definitely be a moment to celebrate when we hit 20,000. And I'm hoping the Shark Tank says, hey, he hit 20,000. Let's give him another shot now.
And you know what? Like you said, all hard earned. I mean, we know it's a smart idea. A lot, millions of people wear dress shirts. And believe me, for the times that I've worn them or do wear them, never on this show, just for the fun, so everyone else can laugh at it. But it's something that when you're getting dressed, the whole point of getting dressed to look good for that particular reason is to look nice and neat. I mean, if you're wearing a t-shirt, it doesn't matter what it looks like in that regard. But when you wear a collared shirt and the collar's all floppy or wrinkly or pushed down on one side and sticking up like that in another, it sort of takes away from the whole reason why you're getting dressed in the first place. And that's where people's eyes go. They go right to your like your face and your neck and your head. They're not looking at the bottom left side part of your blazer. They're looking right there. And it makes an impression and it makes a difference. And we know that there are other things on the market that address this, of course, but it's the person and the company that is most visible. And like you said, well, you may not be the greatest at social media. It doesn't matter, but you're present. You're on there. You're every day, you're posting something, doing something, sharing something. And that consistency every day, whether it's great or not, is still consistency. And so that's when Carmine and I were saying that we've watched you. I bet you if I go back and look at our messages from years ago, where you said, oh, you know what, I'm now in like 10 retailers or 15 little retail, whatever. And you're in like so many now. And you, where you post like, hey, we're in this place, and we're in that place, and we're up to this number. It's literally been the summation of all of your work. And I hope inventors really take that away here, that it is expensive. I mean, who would think that, okay, it's just a little collar thing, right? But it would be a 6-figure business endeavor. But people have no clue what it's like, the development, the manufacturing, the packaging, the marketing, the sales, just everything that goes in and around a product business has to be considered. And it is not easy, and it's not for the faint of heart. But like you said, hey, you've got to succeed. You've got a family. This is what you want to do. You know you need to do something, but at the same time, it affords you that freedom, right? You don't have to get up and drive an hour to work every day, and you don't have somebody telling you how to do it and what to do when they have full power over your ability to even work at that company. You've taken things into your own hands, and I know that's not a privilege everybody has, but it's something everyone can work for, and it's certainly something that's attainable by anybody if they put in the work that you've put in.
Exactly right. I think the biggest key to me has been, how can I serve? And you look at the word serving, it happens in a lot of different avenues. For me, when I work with my stores, I'm in 355 stores across the country, 41 different states. So that's been a grind. That's going to Vegas, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Minneapolis, just getting out there, and no one's there to see me. And that's the hardest part, I think, as an inventor. When you go to a trade show and you spend $1,000, $2,000, Vegas is $7,000 on a booth. You're not going to sell most likely enough to even break even for what it cost you for the hotel and for the booth, but you're developing relationships. People aren't there to see you. So you got to stop and say, hey, can I show you this really cool tool that is going to help your customers so you can serve your customers? So in the meantime, I have to serve these stores, let them know I have a great tool that can help their customers, help the suits they sell, the dress shirts they sell look better longer, which some may not want that, sadly enough. They want the shirts that collapse, they can sell more shirts. So I feel like I'm a disruptor to some degree in the fashion industry, because they want to sell new shirts. They want to sell new belts. Well, I have holeless belts that last much longer than any belt you could ever buy because it adjusts by 1/4 of an inch. So like, wow, this will last much longer. But the stores may not want to sell it because they want to sell a replacement belt every 6 months. So it's a really challenging dance almost, where you want to bring products to market to solve clothing related problems, but they have to be open-minded enough to say, you know what, I may not sell as many belts, I may not sell as many shirts, but this is really a great tool for you. And the stores, I'd say 20% of my stores kill it. Every time they sell a shirt, every time they sell a suit, they say, let me show you this really great tool. So after you wash the shirt, you wear the shirt, you store the shirt, it's going to start to collapse. I don't care how much money you spend on that dress shirt. That type of thing is going to happen just from normal wear and tear. But I want you to have this tool. So this suit I'm selling you right now, this dress shirt, continues to look fantastic. And I know you're going to get a lot of compliments, and hopefully it results in more suit sales. The stores that get that are the ones that kill it. The ones that just look at it as a threat to selling more shirts, have it on the shelf and don't do a whole lot. And that's probably the hardest thing for me. And definitely a message for all the inventors out there is sell-through is key. You got to find a way to inspire the business owners and the store owners to have as much passion and as much enthusiasm about your product as you do. And that's not easy. So you got to keep touching them every quarter at least, see how it's going, give them some tips, give them some advice, give them marketing material, so they too can be excited to sell your product so you have sell-through. If it sits on the shelf, doesn't move, you're not getting a reorder. And that's a whole other side of the business about me serving you, not just once, but ongoing. And when I'm in the mall, I'm serving customers that walk by with terrible looking collars. I was like, sir, I have a great tool. This is my exact pitch. I have a great tool for your collar, sir. It lifts it up so it doesn't lay flat. And I do exactly that. And some keep walking and they say, oh no, I got collar stays, I'm good. I can't help them. They're not open-minded enough to get my help. Some will say, what do you have for the collar? And I'll come over and I'll say, well, let me show you. And if they have a spouse with them or a girlfriend with them, I'll let the spouse be the judge. ma'am, would you be a judge for us? She's like, sure. All I want you to do is tell me, does your husband's shirt look better with or without my product? And every time, obviously, it looks better. So I know I have a pretty good chance. But I have the husband face the wife. I give the husband a mirror so he can understand what a placket is and how it starts to fall after wear and tear. I pop the collar, I put the collar on, and I have him look in the mirror, and I watch the wife's expression. Now, with a mask on, you can't see her smiling, so it's a little tougher. We got to read the eyes. But now that we're back to no mask, thank goodness, in North Carolina, we can go back to seeing the smile. But almost every time the man looks at the woman and says, honey, what do you think? And she says, much better, honey. So that's all it takes. How would you say no to a product now when your wife tells you you look much better? So it's, again, I'm here to serve the customers face to face. I'm here to serve the customers through retail owners, and through social media. I'm trying to help people understand what it is we've done and why we're doing it. And
Do you, Dave?
Daily
It's
process.
just, Carmine, I know you have a couple things you definitely want to say, but it just made me think of something. On your packaging now, do you have like a video QR code that is on it? So like, okay, because you can't be in 300-400 stores, and especially if it's at a major retail, you definitely are not going to be able to be there, where you can sort of have a quick 30-45-second video that conveys exactly what your pitch is in the mall. Like you're saying, hey, here's what you look like before. Here's my product. Here's what you look like after. Maybe like whatever. Is that something that you've done or considered doing?
Yeah, QR code's an interesting world. When I first came out with the product back in 2015, QR codes are just kind of launching. People had it on QR code readers in their phone. I never personally used it, so I personally didn't see value in it. We were looking at space in the back of the box. It doesn't have a QR code. Make sure I get my camera there right properly.
Right.
It doesn't currently have a QR code. We probably could have put it above. Let's see my finger there, right there. We probably could have put it there. We just wanted to keep it clean and not too cluttered. So we decided to go against the QR code. But we also went back and forth on how the front should look. Should it have before and after, just the after? We decided to have a magnetic lid so that we'd actually act as a storage device as well. So it was like one of those things where we took 6 months to design the box, and we went back and forth on QR codes. I mean, right now I feel like they're becoming more popular, especially with COVID.
Yeah, I see.
Menus on QR codes and
Exactly, like you
things
see
like
in
that.
restaurants. Because I've done that a few times. Now you don't even need a QR code reader. You just use your camera. It used to be like you had to have an app. And I was the same way. I'm like, I never use this. And I literally just took the app off my phone. But now, and I think because of COVID, it's really kind of, with restaurants, people are so familiar with doing it now that when they see a code on a package, they immediately understand, and no matter what age they are, to do that. And they're able to see it. It just made me think, because I know how you are so hands-on with your product, and the demo is like, that increases your odds of selling exponentially. But when you're in these stores, that 80% of stores that aren't killing it, their salespeople really just don't care. They're just there. They're getting a paycheck. They're doing their thing. Maybe they do care a little bit, but they're not going to sit there and talk about Perky collar to everybody that walks in. And maybe that's a lost opportunity for you,
Yeah, something to think about, especially when we make the next boxes, and we can just drop a QR code on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt. There's always changes. There's always, that's the thing. You have to keep your ear to the ground and keep finding how can you do things.
That's it. Give the people what they want, right? It's crazy.
But I do like the one-on-one education and the demos. I think that's the most powerful tool. Especially
Of course. It's if you
trying
can do
not
that
to
all
see
day
that.
long.
There's
only one David Frankel out there.
And say, hey, try this on, and like boom, they see the shirt right already.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
it's kind of
done.
a done deal. But the QR code definitely is a good tool to have for those stores that aren't as aggressive or aren't. It's the problem is it's $25. It's not a huge price point for them. They're not making a big margin.
Right.
One of the reasons I don't spend a lot of time pushing it.
Sure. Of course not.
So it is what it is.
Yeah, I just want to let you know, David. I have your product, and I always keep it at home. But I got to tell you, whenever it's the oddest thing to me, it's more of, I look at it not as a tool, but it gives me a good feeling when I go into a meeting. Like when I'm going into an important meeting, I always make sure I take your product with me. Sometimes I'm just going to a meeting, just getting a lunch, coffee. I don't take it out of the closet, but it's just that feeling of security. I love your product so much. I'm going to a big meeting. I want to close a deal. I make sure that I have your product with me, just as that finishing touch, that cherry on top. And I want to know that you're not only selling a great product, but you're selling security. You're selling a feeling that you're finished. Your outfit's ready. You're ready to go. So it's just an awesome product. And I get what you're doing. It's so hard to tell every person. And I think once you get that stage where we're talking about national or global, I think because you're setting such a great foundation and you're selling and you're going, I mean, it's going to explode. You know what I'm worried about? Everyone's going to say when your product hits a big time, they're going to say it's an overnight success,
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, please.
most
It's
overnight
like-
successes are 10 years in the making.
and sometimes longer. I mean, again, I've watched David go literally from being in like a little handful of stores to now he's saying well over 300. That's a huge, and I know each one of those were harder, and it wasn't like he went from 10 stores to 80 stores to 200 stores in a year. It was like, wait, picked up another store this week. We got another 3 this week.
Yeah.
And like he said, he's so hands-on, but that is the challenge in a world where, e-commerce just continues to grow and mass retail is still the overwhelming way that people shop. We know those numbers. It's still well over 80% of people still buy things in a physical store versus the internet. You do, like David said, you have to be open-minded to adjusting your product, your packaging to meet the needs of what people want. A lot of inventors, and I get this all the time, they get stuck on, well, this is my product. This is how it's going to be. I don't care that this is the way I want it to be. I'm not going to change anything. But if you're in the business to make money, you have to be willing to shift and do the things that allow it to sell and be open to that. So like, okay, now David may not go out tomorrow. He's not going to throw all his packaging away and throw QR codes on there. But hey, look, with all the contact that he has with his customers, you wondered, would that be of interest to them? Will he ask them, hey, what if we put a QR code on the front of the package or the back of the package so people can do it because we know you don't have the time to have your salespeople demonstrate the product? Hey, it might work. It doesn't cost anything much really to put that QR code on that package, but does it help? I mean, but David at least is sitting there saying, hey, that's something I can consider because that's what it takes to be a successful inventor. You have to be willing to change with the times, go with what's going on out there. And if you don't adapt, someone else is going to do it and someone else will take your place for sure.
And I think ultimately I can put a sticker on the box, even the box that I currently have.
Right.
I just can't drop a little sticker on it until the next order comes through, until we can
Right.
actually put it a part of the box. So it's not a difficult addition. It's just a matter, is there enough people that are going to use the QR code to make
Right.
time and effort and so on and so forth.
But just another thing it's one of a million things to consider, So
Go ahead, Jim.
no, go.
I was going to say, David, I know that you've been adding products onto your menu of products. Just real briefly, can you just tell our inventors, is there a process of how you choose what products you're going to add? Because you probably have ideas for so many products. Is there a process how you say, okay, I'm going to go with the belts or I'm going to go with this and then jump in on that?
I think it's just a matter of, is it the same customer that I'm already going after? Because right now we have the Perky collar, obviously, we have the pocket square holder. And I think the people that wear blazers typically wear pocket squares. And if they wear pocket squares, they have a problem of it unfolding and falling down. So when I met the pocket square holder inventor, it just made sense for us to work together. And then he ended up selling my product too. So it actually became a way for me to increase my sales force by bringing them on board. We also have magnets to keep the shirt tucked in. It's always been an issue that I have. I know untuck it's a big thing now. But if you're going to a more formal event or you just like to keep your shirt tucked in and show off that belt, I had several different prototypes going to keep my shirt tucked in. And I found a guy out of New Hampshire that created a product called Magnatuck that keeps your shirt tucked in using earth magnets.
Really?
So it just seemed like it is a natural addition to the company. And then we found a guy that out of Wichita, Kansas, that does collar stays. And I've always wanted stainless steel instead of plastic garbage that comes in shirts. But his were unique because they weren't sharp. His were also unique because they had the hook on the end, which can help fasten small buttons on sleeves.
Yeah.
So such a great guy. He tried licensing several times and just never found a great relationship. And I said, hey, man, I'll just go out there and add it to my portfolio. And it became part of our innovation gift set. And now it's a way for you to get 4 inventions for a little discount and you're solving problems. And nothing I have is all about branding. It's not all about in-your-face logos. I'm not Gucci, not Louis. It's not about that image. It's about being kind of behind the scenes to help your existing wardrobe look better. And I think that's attractive to a lot of people. You don't have to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe or buy special pocket squares to use our things. It's using your existing wardrobe to make it look a little better. And then the belts I've fallen in love with because I can't stand belts that have holes every inch. They're truly made to fall apart. And when I see something that was, I guess it was probably 5-6 years ago, that ran on a pivot system and on a track. I said, oh my goodness, this makes so much sense. I can adjust it by 1/4 inch instead of having to go up or down an entire inch. This is perfect for the guy that wants to dress well. And every guy likes to have a nice belt to match his nice shoes. I'm not getting in the shoe business. Way too much.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, right. Fast forward, we'll see a post on his on.
I would love to. I mean, honestly, shoes and hats, I would love to get into, but the darn sizing requires
Sizing, styles. Oh my God, yeah, that's its own business. For sure.
That sounds interesting, because over this pandemic, I need to adjust my belts.
Yeah, we'll take samples. We'll take samples, David. Whatever your shoes, belt, we got it. We'll be sample people for you.
You know, get an idea what it looks like. That's a track. So the track literally allows you to adjust it by 1/4 inch at a time.
Oh, look at that.
It's a beautiful belt.
Oh, that's cool. Wow. Yeah, that's fun.
And you don't
yeah,
have
it looks good. It's just good, simple, nice. That's really cool. Yeah, you know, David, it's like the saying where you say, you know, the easiest customer to sell is the one you already have, right? So you're staying in your genre of product. It's wardrobe, accessories. It's, whatever you want to call that, items, devices, products that prop up your existing wardrobe or enhance it. Make you look that much sharper. Hey, look, if you're going to spend $100 or $200 on a shirt, if it looks floppy, it might as well be a $5 shirt. What's the difference, right? So, and a lot of people are very brand driven. They want for people to see what they're wearing, and that brand is, and that image is everything. So you're just basically completing the look by making it like extra sharp, which is really cool.
And I think the real message to be learned here is that when you go to a trade show, number one, it's expensive. Maximize your time at the trade show. Your job is not only to connect with retailers and sell product, but also walk around and meet other vendors, because they may have a product that's a perfect addition to your portfolio. And you guys can now double your sales force.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I always do. Early in the show, I'll walk around. Late in the show, I'll walk around just to see what other people are selling, to see if I have competition, or to see if their product can then add to my portfolio and we can work together. Again, yeah. As I started the interview, collaboration is key. And if we can keep our egos in check and continue to collaborate, it makes a big difference. Even what I'm wearing now, these little lapels here, these are actually adhesive lapels that I've added to my jacket to take it from a plain light blue jacket to almost like a tuxedo looking piece.
Huh.
Jim, where did you get this stuff?
I was just going to say, what is going on here? He comes up with something for everything.
It's all trade shows. It's just people you find. I'm like, you know what? That's a pretty cool idea. So maybe if I'm going to prom or going to an event and I don't have the money for a tuxedo or don't want to buy a tuxedo, I can just throw these lapels on my existing blazer and make it look like a tuxedo. Wow. And you rip it off when you're done and throw it in the ground.
It's like tearaway pants and basketball. They just rip them off.
Wow.
That is crazy.
Hey, David, have you ever, and you don't have to mention, have you ever seen anybody who was kind of competing with your Perky collar?
There's a couple of people out there. I don't mind naming them because our product is superior. Slick collar is my exact design out of Canada. It has adjustable pieces. It's my exact CAD design I created. I didn't like the concept because when you adjust it to different lengths, it gets bulkier, number one. Number two, it just doesn't work as well because you're changing the shape of the collar.
Oh,
I see. My collar is the same shape. Mine's probably 15 and 19-inch neck. The competition's the same size. It's much more bendable and foldable, which is great. However, if it's not strong enough, it doesn't do the job of lifting the collar. So, I think every inventor should know, and I think it's a great point. People are going to copy you. If you have any traction whatsoever, if you're on social media at all, people are going to say, hey, that's a good idea. I can do that.
Yep. Nobody knocks off failure.
I even tell customers, tell me, oh, I can do that, or I've done that, or I have my own variation in at my home, and I took the cardboard out of my shirt and made it into a Perky collar. I'm like, okay, great. Nice job. Let me know how that works for you in 2 months. My product will still be looking good in 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I mean, obviously, competition to me just helps educate more people about the problem of a droopy collar. There's $1 million collar out of California. They have a lot of money behind them, but they're not fixing the collar. They're fixing the placket. So why they call the product $1 million collar doesn't really make much sense to me. The other issue is you have to have it professionally installed into the placket.
Oh, forget it.
I totally get it. So if I'm really picky, I want my placket to be nice and straight. But do I want to spend $15 and have it installed in each and every shirt they currently have? Not me personally.
No. We need plug and play here. This was what you do. But I was just going to ask you what's next. But clearly, nothing's off the table when it comes to the table. But hey, David, obviously today nobody can hide on social media. But where where can people go to find Perky Collar and everything else you do, whether it's on social media, website? Let everyone know.
Sure. So the website is a company name, which is, you see behind me, perkyllc.com. And then on social media, everything's Perky LLC, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, even TikTok. And I have a Perky Collar radio show as well, which is on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor.
I was on that show, like it was been years, right? But I was on that. I remember it was, it's got to be, I'll bet you that was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Definitely. I have to
It's
look
another way to
back.
grow the brand. It's another way to let people doing. And now we're getting some international traction, which is really exciting.
Nice.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, that's one thing that when I got your product, I was like, said to I took it out of the box. I'm like, this is simple, but it's not the design. I love it. It's simple, but it works. Like I actually, as inventors, you try to find things that might not work right, but your product works. Like it doesn't not work.
You're exactly right. And I think the simplicity is what makes it so perfect. You don't have to worry about, how does it function? How does it work? It's super light. One thing we didn't talk about earlier, but it's super light, weighs less than a half an ounce. And all you did to use it, and I haven't really demonstrated it, so we'll do a quick demo to wrap things up. This is the tool itself. This is a button-down shirt, so it works on button-down shirts too. But this is typically what happens to a shirt. Make sure I stand up a little bit. If
Yeah,
you
look
don't
at the
have
difference.
Perky Collar. So it lays flat here, and this one we'll do it eventually. Eventually, it'll look like that. So all you do to put it on is lift the collar up, button down or non-button down, doesn't matter. Long tapered ends on top, and just drop it down. So the beauty of it, like you said, it's simple. It's not hard to figure out how to use it. The only thing you do once it's under the collar is just make sure it's even.
Yeah.
Just a slight little adjustment here, then you're good.
And it kind of self-centers.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I always like to tweak it just a little bit just to make sure it's not, one side sticking out or one side's way back here and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it goes on, assuming you put it on pretty evenly, it does self-center for the most part.
Hey, Dave, real quick, we only got like 3 minutes left, but did you go through different iterations of material? I love the material. Obviously, it's clear and all, but did you struggle with different materials?
We went through several different options. As I mentioned earlier with the slick collar, they have it as being adjustable. That's one of our designs. And we just chose not to go with that design because it seemed bulkier, especially as you overlap it, go to smaller sizes. So we had different materials. I also initially went with like a razor color, like a silver, but we decided to go with clear just in case it does poke out a little bit. It's not noticeable. We went with lots of different shapes and sizes and iterations around the design of the product. And that's one of the things you have to kind of hammer out. You got to figure out what's the best look for it. Keeping it simple, stupid, I think is really big key as well. Keeping it very light because again, our neck is very sensitive. You want to make sure it's not going to be uncomfortable or hot or just as uncomfortable as wearing a tie, then you might as well wear a tie. So I try to keep all these things in mind in designing the product, making sure it's light, making sure you forgot you're even wearing it, make sure it's durable. It's a polycarbonate, so it's incredibly strong, but incredibly light. So it just had all the right components to be a successful product.
Yeah. And what I like about it is, and I forget it's on, once it's on, but people think that just because it's light and clear, and it's not a low cost product to make. Like you put quality, you put products, you have a great box. It's not a low cost product to make. So I want to stress to people that just because it looks like, oh, it's just a piece of plastic, it's not just a piece of plastic.
Correct. I mean, that's the people that are into manufacturing, that's what they're going to say. People that are engineers, that's what they're going to say. And you have to just have them, you have to be mentally tough and realize that, okay, it is a piece of plastic. Physically, that's what I see. However, how it makes you look, how it makes you feel, like you talked about earlier, is the big difference.
Yeah.
My son had a phrase for Shark Tank was, when you look good, you feel good. And that phrase is being copied obviously a lot in a lot of different campaigns now, but it really does play true. If you look great and you feel like your shirt's brand new and your jacket looks great and everything's pressed nicely, you do feel more handsome. You do feel better looking. You do feel younger. And there's a lot of meaning behind that. And if you look at Coca-Cola's slogans for the last several years, it's taste the feeling. What the heck does that mean? Well, you want to taste the feeling of being young.
Yeah.
Well, the Perky collar is very much like that. If you can look great and feel great and you don't necessarily dress up a lot, or if you dress up every day, it doesn't really matter. You can still feel like $1 million without spending $1 million. And that's really been one of our big keys, is keeping the price nice and low, making the packaging, make it look more expensive, making the packaging functional. Like I mentioned, if you're traveling with collar stays, cufflinks, and lapels, you just drop it in here because the product's horseshoe shapes. You have all this extra space in the middle to put other small accessories instead of putting them on your nightstand or your bathroom counter. It all goes there.
Yeah.
So it's
David,
a box, not just a box to throw away.
Agree. Agree.
Thank you, sir. This has been excellent and a great testament to hard work. And we are very excited to see what's next from you for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No
Thank you
doubt.
so much for having me. Congratulations on your family for the graduation as well. Jim.
Yes, I know. I got to get running too. It's a big day today for sure.
Getting dressed up today, baby.
Yeah, of course. Right?
Yeah. Jim has like several kids that have graduated from college already. If anybody wants to know.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Like-
Don't age me that much yet.
I love these kind of shows. This is really a great show. Thank you so much, Dave, because we're talking about the whole transition and how much work it takes. A lot of inventors just think, oh, I invented this, and everyone should come knocking down their door and throw money at them because they thought of an idea. But we just always want to stress that that very, very, very seldom happens. Yeah, people do win lotto also, but David, your continued work on this has been awesome. It doesn't go unnoticed. We've been following your stuff, and we're super proud to know you. And we wish you all the luck. For all you listeners out there, if you have some questions, reach on out to David. He's all over social media, just like Jim. Ask some questions. And if you need the Perky collar or any of the accessories, please go on down and purchase them because they're all high quality stuff. We thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time on Get Retail Ready with Mr. Jim DeBetta. You all take care.